softball, then you are going to love the Fastpitch TV show. We're bringing you more interviews, more videos, and more product reviews than anyone else on the planet. Sit back and get ready. Here's the Fastpitch TV show.
Hello, I'm Jerry Leland, and this is the Fastpitch TV show. Now, I try to bring you a new episode of the show every week. Just check my website on Fridays, and that's at fastpitch.tv. That's the home of the Fastpitch Network and the place to find all the softball videos and all the softball blogs that I produce. It's a network for Fastpitch softball, so please take a look after you finish watching this episode. Now, before I go any further, I want to thank my partner, Louisville Slugger. Swing the technology that's dominating the Fastpitch game at every level of play, from youth to the NCAA championships to the world stage. Louisville Slugger is the hardest hitting names in sports. Please visit their website at slugger.com. Now, some of our most popular shows are from SoftballCon in Louisville, Kentucky, which is sponsored by Louisville Slugger. If you're not familiar with SoftballCon, you really need to check out their website at softballcon.net. They're now preparing for the 2013 convention, so check it out now. Now, last year they had 2 sessions with pitching coach Bill Hillhouse. Bill's a great pitching coach, and we've brought you videos from Bill before. Now, this week I'm going to start his second session from the 2012 SoftballCon. If you've not seen the episodes from the first session, his first session at SoftballCon, you may want to go back and start with episode 196 and watch that series of shows. Now, this session will be shown in 3 parts. Let's start watching part 1 right after this message.
This segment is about the movement pitches, okay? Now, there's a lot of bad information out there about the movement pitches, and a lot of it stems from the motions that the girls are taught from the start. The very first thing we talked about, most girls do, they do the wrist flips, and those come back to bite them in the butt because they're pitching with a locked arm. Try throwing an overhand curveball with a locked arm. It doesn't work. You need your elbow to snap. Underhand is no different. Not only do I need my elbow to snap when I throw, but I also need to make sure that my arm is getting itself into the right position. My hand is getting itself into the right spot in order to spin the ball in the direction it needs to go in. So, because a lot of girls are not taught fundamentals to be what I would consider to be correct, what we see a lot is we see girls that do this. They throw their fastball. I always put that in quotes, and I'll explain why in just a second. So they're going to throw a fastball, and they go like this. And then they're going to throw a drop ball, and they go like this. And then they're going to throw a rise ball, and they go like this. And then they're going to throw a curve ball, and they go like this. And they're going to throw a screwball, and they go like this. There's like 6 different ways to pitch for 6 different pitches. I'm telling you guys what, learning how to do this one way takes you a lifetime. If you have to learn how to pitch a whole different way each time you want to throw something different, good luck. Good luck. Kat Osterman doesn't do that. The girl from Japan who throws 70 miles an hour doesn't do that. Their motion stays the same because their mechanics are the same from pitch to pitch. How we spin the ball is the difference. How we spin the ball is the difference. When a pitching coach is telling you to change your motion from pitch to pitch, they're telling you to force the movement. Lean back and throw it high, that's a rise ball. Lean forward on a drop, that's a drop ball. Step one way and go across and do the other, that's a curve ball. It isn't. It isn't. That would be like, and again, changing your motion from pitch to pitch, that would be like a baseball pitcher throwing his fastball. And on his curveball, he goes like this. It's ridiculous when you convert it over to a baseball perspective, but somehow when it comes to pitching softball, this seems to make sense to people. And it gets expanded on when you watch ESPN. And they dumb down the game for you with the announcing that goes on, and anything that gets thrown inside, they go, oh, what a screwball. And anything that's thrown high, what a rise ball. And they throw one that bounces on home plate, what a drop ball. Those are not drop balls, those are not rise balls, those are not screwballs. Stepping one way and throwing the ball inside does not make it a screwball. Stepping the other way and throwing it across my body and across the plate does not make it a curveball. How we spin it makes it move. And if their bodies aren't doing the things they're made to do, they are not going to get the right spin on the ball for the pitches. And again, I keep going back to this. It's not my rule. I didn't invent it. The rise ball is the hardest pitch to learn how to do. Without question, the hardest. And the reason it is so hard is because your margin for error is 0. You can have nothing wrong and still even expect to get the right spin on the ball. If you have something wrong, if you curled your wrist at the top instead of having your palm facing third base, if your arm is stiff, if you're going around your hip, any of those things go wrong, spin isn't going to be there. It isn't going to be there. Most girls that try to learn how to throw a rise ball with the mechanics that I'm talking about, they get bullet spin. The dot, the ball spins like a bullet. So because the ball doesn't do this, what the coach tells them is lean back, throw it higher. Trajectory does play a role, but if they're leaning back and throwing high, if that's a rise ball, then everybody who plays slow pitch throws rise balls every time they throw a ball, because that's all they're doing is throwing a ball up high. We've got to understand that you need to make the ball spin in the direction you're trying to make it move in for the ball to move. The rise ball is the hardest because they have to have everything perfect. Going back to what I said in the first session before, there's a difference between the choices and the musts. Grip on the ball is a choice. How they spin it is a must. The ball needs to spin a certain way for the ball to move. Rise ball, for example, how I hold mine is like this. Okay, I use my fingertip. A lot of people don't like to use their fingertip. I have ginormous hands, I can get away with doing this. Some girls can't. But there's a reason I grip the ball the way that I do. And if I don't use my body the way that I need it to move, the spin isn't going to be there. And I'm going to show you that in just a second here. I got my grip. The trick to the rise ball is to a couple things. Number one, making sure that my elbow is loose so that it can snap. Making sure that I come through my hips, not around my hips. And making sure that I twist the ball with my fingers. A lot of pitching coaches use the analogy for young girls. It's like turning a doorknob. I prefer them to think of it like a light bulb. You twist a light bulb with your fingers. When they turn a doorknob, what you see a lot of times is their wrist turns. It doesn't snap as they come through. And once they turn their wrist to where their thumb points to the catcher, they're doomed. The ball's going to spin like a bullet. So I had a couple of questions about what the rise training tool is. This is the best thing in the world for learning a rise ball. Everybody here has, probably been to a bunch of these type of clinics before and you've seen the spinners. They're just a glorified hockey puck. Okay, and somebody found a fancier name and they charge $30 for it versus going and buying a plastic hockey puck at a Dick's Sporting Goods for $1.99. Okay? Problem with using a spinner is that when you're pitching in a game, you're not using a spinner. You're using a ball. So the sooner you can get her working with the grip that she's going to use when she twists the ball, the better. I need to utilize the seams in order to make the ball move. And if I'm using a spinner, then I'm not utilizing the seams. I want to teach myself that from the beginning. Now this gives them instant feedback to it. Now let me give you a little bit of background on this. I spent a lot of time in airports. A lot of time in airports. And I was one day, my flight was canceled. I don't remember where the hell I was going, but I was online, surfing around, and I went to it was websites, and I just started going to different things. And I saw a guy had 2 baseballs that were duct taped together. And it was how he was teaching curveball, was to make both balls spin for the curveball rotation. And essentially, a rise ball and an overhand curveball are the same thing. It's just upside down. Twist, twist, okay? So I thought, well, you know what? If they can do it with a curveball, I can do it with a rise ball. So I got all proud of myself, And I went home and I made all kinds of prototypes of this thing, trying to figure out how I could make this and do this. Turns out somebody's been doing it a long time ago and I didn't create anything. Just goes to show you that I didn't invent anything. This is the best thing in the world because it gives them instant feedback to whether or not they did it right. Okay? So, correct spin with a rise ball will get both balls spinning backwards like that. If she can't make If she can't make both balls spin backwards, then she's doing something wrong with her motion. Bullet spin with this would look like this. Ball spins this way. So this not only gets them the instant feedback on the direction of the spin, but it also can help them to understand how to get it to spin the way I need it to. Using the grip that I have, line balls are good, but I think for the rise ball, this is the technique. Using the grip that I have, I need my thumb to stay pointed to third base. In the blink of an eye, I need my thumb to go from on top of the ball to behind the ball. If I go around my body, my thumb's going to go over the side of the ball. No good. Ball has to stay in front of me. Hand comes under the ball where my fingers are going to twist it and make the ball spin backwards. Backspin. Remember what I said before, I need the ball to spin in the direction I'm trying to make it move. So I want backspin on the ball. And with using this, as she's coming down, she's got her grip on the bottom ball. Doesn't matter which one she wants to be the bottom. She can use the other one, use the white one, doesn't make any difference. When she comes down, the weight of that top ball turns, almost like a hammer motion, and gives her the feel of her hand going underneath the ball. And when she does it right, she gets the balls going like that. Using the grip that I use, where I use my fingertip, is I roll my thumb, I push my finger. Whichever way my finger points is the way the ball spins. If my finger points straight up in the air, the ball spins straight backwards. If my finger points sideways, the ball just spun sideways. So what we got to get them to do using the grip that I get, and again, this is my grip, this is the grip I chose, not one that they got to use, but I'm twisting and pushing at the exact same time. As I roll my thumb, I push my finger. And what I always tell little girls to say, and it makes them laugh, but it helps them to feel it and get the understanding, is I make them say, Bill's number one. A lot of times they don't use this finger when they do it. But the fact of the matter is, that's one of the ways I get them to do it. If they push their finger up, when they're done, they have a gun. They need to practice the spin. It's not a doorknob. They need to practice it. As much as they can with a ball. They can do it when they're, I used to say when you're on the phone, but nobody's on the phone anymore, they're all texting. Everybody still watches TVs and watches movies. When they're watching movies or they're sitting in a car, they should be sitting there practicing their spin. Practicing it like this. I always tell this story and people think I'm kidding. When I was 16 years old and I got to go on dates for the first time, I'll never forget, 1988, got my driver's license, I went to see the movie Cocktail. I took a ball into the movie theater and I sat there and I spun the ball during the movie. And I went on a lot of first dates. Okay. But to this day, I still spin the ball constantly. As I'm sitting watching television, I sit there and spin the ball. And at the end, if you guys want, I'll show you the difference. You look at the difference in my wrist, and you can see how my wrist on this hand is so much bigger than this one, because your finger bone's connected to your hand bone, connected to your wrist bone, connected to your forearm bone. It all starts moving together, and you can start to see how it's flexing. The more she practices the spins, the more she's going to get more rotation. More rotation means more movement. So, practicing the spin as much as they can when they're watching television, when they're riding the car, anything will help them to ride. But they've got to make sure that they're not turning the wrist. It's not in the wrist, it's in the fingers. The wrist can be your worst enemy here. If their wrist is curled up the top, they're going to come down. Thumb is going to be pointed to the catcher. They're doomed. They're going to get bullet spin. Bullet spin, in and of itself, is kind of a good thing, in a way, because it means that she's turning the ball with her fingers, but she's not turning it backwards. So what we got to get her to do is, instead of turning her thumb towards the catcher, she's got to make her thumb point towards third base. If her thumb points towards third base, that ball will roll off the back of the thumb. As she pushes her finger up, when she's done, she's got a gun.
Do you need a softball bat? Do you want to save $30? SoftballJunk.com is offering an additional $30 discount off the price of all non-sale softball bats on their website. That's right, $30. So the next time you buy a bat, go to SoftballJunk.com and enter the code FPTV30 during checkout, and wham! You just put a cool $30 in your pocket.
Welcome back. Now that last short clip was my daughter Amanda, and she was telling you about my online softball store, SoftballJunk.com. I hope you wrote down the code number she gave you, the FPTV30. If not, write it down now. Anytime you buy a softball bat on my website, SoftballJunk.com, you can enter that code at checkout and save yourself $30 on a softball bat. And you can use the code over and over and over. So if you buy a new bat every year, well, that's $30 a bat, just about forever, okay? So you just need to remember that code. Now, I hope you enjoyed part 1 of Bill's clinic. Join us next week for part 2 of his clinic. Now, if you have an iPhone or an iPad, you need to look at all the apps today that I've created for those devices. I think I've created 8 different apps at this time. Just go to app.fastpitch.tv to see them all. And don't forget to check out our new College Exposure show. We renamed it to College Exposure. You can find it at collegesoftballexposure.com. It's a great way for high school players to get noticed by college coaches, and it's free. So that's all for today. So until next week, this is Gary Leland saying goodbye, and thanks for watching.
This show is a member of the Fastpitch TV network. See all our shows and blogs at www.fastpitch.tv.